Om Tat Sat, and welcome everyone to Unearthing the Lost Gems of Classical Ayurveda. On my laptop, which you cannot see right now, I have a PowerPoint presentation which we're going to activate for you right now. And just through a couple of slides, I'm going to present to you what I have been teaching, why my teachings are different, but why these teachings are going to be useful for you if you plan to benefit from Ayurveda, study Ayurveda, or teach Ayurveda. So let me first begin with thanking the Guru Parampara. Parampara means tradition, and Guru is not just one person, as in my case, Baba, but the very fact that we have role models. The Guru is one. Gu means darkness and Ru means light. Guru is one who removes our darkness and enlightens us with light. And this is a whole chain, a parampara, in which I was very fortunate to be born and to take forward through my own wisdom school, Vedika Global, in this 21st century. So I want to begin first by honoring the parampara that I come from. Narayana Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. In the ancient Gurukuls, Guru means the one who sheds our darkness and brings us forth into our own light. Kula means the family, the circle that surrounds this light giver. In the ancient Gurukulas, or these ancient wisdom schools that dotted ancient India, which is far larger than its current geographical boundaries, great wisdom was being incubated. Great knowledge to be healthy, to be happy, to be wise, and to do it in an amazingly holistic manner. There were no shortcuts here. This was not necessarily a very long process. It was an exact process, and nothing was left out. The physical aspect of the body, the mental aspect of our existence, the social aspect, the spiritual aspect, the sensorial dimension, all of these were brought together in one test tube, in one consideration. We could look at all parts of our life, and then we had the wisdom of how to go forth. These great wisdom schools, known as Gurukulams, gave birth to great legendary teachers, legendary light bearers of Ayurveda, known as Rishi Charaka, Rishi Sushruta, Rishi Vagabhata, Rishi Bhava Mishra. All these great teachers created then great samhitas, or great core texts, known as Charaka Saṃhitā, Sushruta Samhita, Bhava Prakasha, Ashtangra Hidayam. So it is from these texts that we can now glean back and say, here is what was happening. This is why the rishis were leading really long lives, and these were not long lives strapped to an IV, or using a bedpan. These were lives that were exciting, creative, fertile, sexual, and definitely encompassing, empowered and enlightened, superior consciousness, because these people and their teachings gave this world and humanity a whole new direction. And I am so fortunate that I have the good karma of being born in an ancient lineage in the holy city of Ayodhya, several 50 plus years ago. And I bring knowledge from that corridor. Now these gurukulams have been lost. Over the march of time, removal of patronage of Hindu kings towards these gurukulams, invasion by so many colonizing powers, and then the independent India wanting to somehow catch up with the modern world and put Ayurveda on the same footing as allopathic or Western medicine. Where was the room to go back and hear the chants of the ancient rishis? Where was the time to look within and say, is health really going to be fixed simply by popping a nutraceutical? Just because it's plant-based, it's going to fix me, fix my psychosis, fix my neurosis, fix my craziness that's giving birth to my heartburn or regurgitation or my headaches or my high blood pressure. No, but I'm just going to take this herbal pill and fix me. There was no room to go back, but I want to make that room. That is why in this global satsang and through my various ways in which I'm connecting with the world, it's on purpose, on deliberation, that I'm reopening the topic of rethinking Ayurveda, because not only did I find it a raging success in my own Gurukulam at my grandfather's feet, but then when I established my Gurukulam Vedika Global in California and taught the deepest, purest, most original classical Ayurveda, I saw miracles happen everywhere. And now I'm ready to talk about it. So I want to take you back to the Charaka Samhita from 1 BCE. I want to take you to this core text. This is like the grandfather text of Ayurveda. This is being taught in every language out there, and it is what is taught in the Indian universities of Ayurveda. This is what any respected scholar of Ayurveda would address, would refer to make their point. So this is not a peripheral text, it is the text in medicine in Ayurveda. And I would like to chant to you 2 verses from its section known as Sharirasthanam. And these 2 verses pretty much symbolize to me the curative and the preventative aspects of classical Ayurveda. And you will see, because then we will look at it word by word, that the invitation that these 2 verses encompassed is so different from the dumbed down, diluted and version of Ayurveda that's popular today, where you simply open a book, take a quiz, or take a classroom, take a quiz, figure out your doshas, and then balance them for the rest of your life. So if you are air dominant or vata dominant, you take a air pacifying or vata pacifying diet for ad infinitum. If you're fire dominant, you eat a fire pacifying diet and lead a lifestyle ad infinitum. It's a very nice, cute, simple to understand box, probably created for the modern human being who has less time. But I know that even in this modern existence, where time is the most valuable commodity, the pain is the same. The sorrow is the same. Diseases are increasing, not decreasing. And probably now it is time to go back to what were the original teachings of the Charaka Samhita and how close are we to it, or how far we have wandered away. This is not to simply criticize what is happening, because what is happening is what happens in every domain, in every science, be it human arts or liberal arts or anything. Things change over time. So that happens even with ancient systems of medicine like Ayurveda and yoga. But there are then going to be teachers like myself, acharyas, who are coming from that original tradition, who would like to then point out and say, well, wait a minute, Maybe we can look, maybe we can spend at least a few hours looking at what was the original call, what is the original impetus and path, and can we possibly bring some blooms from that original forest into our new backyard garden? Can we do that? Can we somehow synthesize what is modern with what is ancient and come into a deeper groove with our health? So let me start chanting. Narohit ahar vihara sevi, samikshakari vishayeshva sakta, data sama satya paraha kshamavan, aptopasevi bhavatte rogaha. Cha bhavatte rogaha. This is the verse which talks about the curative algorithm in Ayurveda. Then we talk about what you can cure, what is your current problem. But how can you be in a state of being that you are always disease-free, that you attract no future diseases, that in future diseases that were coming to you go away? What can you do? And we have a verse for that. Matir vachaha karma sukhanubandham sattvam videham vishada cha buddhihi Jnanam tapaha tataparata cha yoge yasyastitam nana upatanti yogaha. So this is the verse where we have paradigm shifting knowledge which brings Ayurveda into deep connection with the deep sciences of yoga and Vedanta. So if you're now excited or at least intrigued, or if nothing else, borderline curious, let us jump right into these verses. So let us look at the disease cure strategies presented by the first verse. And the first one says, Narohit ahara vihara sevi. So it's saying, Hitakar. Hitakar literally means that which is beneficial. Ahar means food. So we are being asked that if you already have a certain health condition, you can no longer eat just based on what you're used to eating, familiar, you've read in a magazine article, or you're culturally disposed to eat. You have to begin eating scientifically. The Vedic sciences are willing to guide you as to what is beneficial, but is not beneficial for the whole world. It is not a cookie cutter approach in Ayurveda. It has to be beneficial to you. And for the food to be beneficial to you, we can't just look at your doshas and say, here's your dosha or here's your energy imbalance. Eat according to that. We also look at your Agni or metabolic capacity. We look at your Vaya or your age. You know, if you're a youth or a younger person, you can digest heavier food. If you're an older person or a young child, you need food that is easier to digest. It's just not enough for it to be good protein or good source of a certain mineral. Can you break it down or not is the question. So we look at your dosha, or what is the imbalance. We look at your constitution, Prakriti. We look at the imbalance, Vikruti. We look at your age, Vaya. We look at your metabolic capacity, Agni. We look at the season, the Ritu. And we look at the time of the day, Kala. For example, at night, the same food will become potentially more of a liability at nighttime, because then you fall asleep, than at daytime. And whatever food becomes a liability, if you do not digest it well, instead of turning into oja, which means immunity and health, it turns into ama, which means toxicity and future ill health. So therefore, there's so many things by which we personalize the food, and this is known as hitkar ahar. In my family, along with myself, there is myself, my partner, Chef Sanjay, our son, Dhruva, and we all eat differently because we have different doshas. Doshas are known as bioenergies, or comparable to chi in Chinese medicine. We have different imbalances, we have different seasons, seasonal cycles, different age groups, and so we are personalizing the food, and we cannot simply say we're Indian, so we're North Indian, so we eat North Indian food, and this is how our grandmother has been eating, or this is how I'm used to eating. We really make our food scientific. And if you have a certain disease, that's the last point. If you're suffering from a certain vyadhi, say you have asthma or diabetes, or for example, in my son's case, he needs to gain weight. And so, and in my, and so he needs different set of foods. And I and my partner don't need to gain weight. So we are always we're eating differently. So depending on the vyadhi, if you have a certain condition, you will be focusing upon that. For example, if somebody cannot sleep, we would recommend them ghee made with buffalo milk. And if somebody is sleeping too much, we would like to give them ghee made with goat milk or cow milk. So there are all these deeper teachings, and this deeper understanding of food was present in classical Ayurveda, and we must be aware of it. Then we have Hitkar Vihar. Vihara means lifestyle, or adopting our life based on biocircadian rhythms. You might be aware that the person who talked about the influence of biocircadian rhythms on our health has won the Nobel Award. I want to tell you that the whole teaching on biocircadian rhythms was first and foremost put forward by our ancient rishis from the Gurukuls thousands of years ago. And so you are going to be asked by classical Ayurvedic approach, by Charaka Samhita, to bring your life into a beautiful synergy with two kinds of movements. One movement is of the earth on its own axis, creating a 24-hour period. And so you need to eat or sleep or exercise or make love, or or even fast at different times of the day, and these teachings are provided in classical Ayurveda. And there is another kind of movement that you need to come into sync with, which is the movement of the sun of the earth around the sun, which is what causes the seasons. And this happens over a 12-month period, and there are 4 or 6 seasons depending on where you are living. And your body is a living body, and it is in a deep living connection with all these movements. The sun and where it is in the sky, whether it is the early morning sun, whether it is the sun at noon, whether it is late afternoon, or whether it is a setting sun. This is not just a selfie moment or a photo moment. This is actually affecting your brain, your gut, your moods, your thoughts, your digestion. Each and every cell is singing a song, and it's connected to the sun. That is why the Surya Devata, or the sun, is considered as the abode of Arogyam, or health. And the more we are in tune with the sun and its movement, and we know when to do what, the more our cells will come into natural alignment with health. And the more we are are disassociated from what's going on in the environment, in the Brahmanda, in the bigger unit, the more we are dissociated from it, then the Pindanda, or the smaller unit, will become dysfunctional and unhealthy. So therefore, Ahara and Vihara are stressed upon in classical Ayurveda. And we are told that we should be Samikshakari Vishayeshva Saptaha. So we should use our senses very carefully, whether it is pertaining to food or whether it is pertaining to lifestyle. The more cautiously we move, if you are sick, you have to be willing to be more cautious, because without that cautiousness, if your senses go and get attracted to a cheesecake or to Cheetos, God forbid, something like that, you will not be able to recover, because remember, these are disease cure strategies. So you want to be very careful. And the senses here recommend not only food and lifestyle, but even the company you keep. There's all these teachings in Charaka Samhita on what kind of friends you hang out with. Are these friends proactive towards their health, or are they negligent towards their health? Do they take their body for granted? Do they take the planet for granted? Or are these people who are role modeling to us how to be healthy and happy and live wisely? So when you become Samikshakari, it really is representing a whole approach where you take responsibility for yourself. It is a whole approach where you become the master of your senses, and you tell your senses, we are going to drink warm water because it is the time of the year. For example, in winter, or if you are feeling indigestion, then you need to drink warm water to stimulate your Agni. So we're going to have a whole approach towards the world where we are a conscious consumer. This is what Samikshakari means. You are an informed consumer, and you know that your senses have this habit of kind of getting attached, or they go there and they have no sense of right or wrong. They don't know what is hitkar, what is beneficial, and what is ahitkar, non-beneficial for me. So you, based on the knowledge that you're receiving from your teacher, from your guru, you have to make that decision that, do I even want to walk down the aisle where ice creams are there when I have a cold and cough? So you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to buy your food at a farmer's market or grow your food, or do you want to go and buy, food where it's really cheap but it's commercialized and it's, pumped with chemicals? It's your choice. And so Samikshakari Vishayeshva Asaktaha. Vishaya means object, Asaktaha means don't get attached in an unconscious manner, because it is this attachment with food and wrong lifestyle itself, which is known as Mithya Ahar Vihar, that caused the problem in the first place. And then, while we can say that yes, to an extent, in the modern interpretation of Ayurveda, Ahar and Vihar of food and lifestyle are stressed, and I have written a whole book on this called Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom. Here are some new teachings that will blow your mind. Like, wow, this also is something that is included to cure myself, and here is what I'm coming up with. The next word is Data. Data means you are no longer going to be someone who is going to behave in an entitled manner. You are going to become a giver, a contributor, a helper. A data is someone who takes their consciousness and looks at it and says, from the moment I was born, I was crying. And I have just asked and demanded. And when my needs have not been met, I have sulked or I have stormed. But what if I look at nature and I see how Mother Nature is giving? The cow is giving milk. The river is giving water for us to drink. It doesn't need to drink itself. The sun is giving us light. It doesn't need light. It's just giving away. And all these entities are eternally healthy. Even if you look in nature at the trees, the fruit-bearing trees, especially the ones that are just growing in nature, giving away, they are just giving, and they're mostly healthy. Peach trees don't need peach hospitals until human beings intervene. Everything is all beautiful and it's giving. So this is a law, a Vedic law, that God gives, nature gives. And if you want to become one with God and nature, then you become a giver. That is why if you've read my book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom, I talk about this case where this person had hemorrhoids that were incurable. And he could barely sit. And he went to visit my teacher, Baba. And he was expecting a prescription. And instead, Baba told him to take a break from his profit-earning ventures, move to his farmhouse, grow a certain herb. And then he wanted to know, how will he eat it? What is his dosage? And he said, oh, and you don't eat any of this herb. You just give it away. This was his medicine. to move away from selfishness to selflessness, from hoarding to giving and sharing, from demanding to fulfilling another's needs. What happens is, this is very subtle, but a consciousness that's always demanding, wanting, needing, complaining, controlling is a very tense consciousness. It makes all the muscles become tight. The blood pressure is not healthy. The doshas get disturbed. But when you start becoming part of the solution and not part of the problem, what happens is nature then sees you as a very useful agent for spreading light, love, and health. And then somehow nature or the bigger truth starts looking after you. So you want to become a datta. A datta is also known as a karma yogi. And in my karma yoga teachings, which you can come back to, I've taught in the past, I'm teaching in my Bhagavad Gita series. So in the karma yoga, you are taught to become a benefactor, a trustee of this whole planet. And there are 5 relationships in which you must begin being more of a giver. And these 5 relationships, the first one is towards the planet and all its creatures. Even if you're planting a little sapling, or if you're, going and taking care of some animals in a shelter, despite your sickness, you get out of your self-obsession and go and help the planet and its rivers, its mountains, and its creatures that cannot speak for themselves. They cannot sit and have press conferences on the needs of the water buffaloes or the needs of the cider tree. You need to go in there and be a caretaker. The second relationship is with divine forces, which is like start respecting air and light and all the natural attributes, the 5 elements of nature. Try and not pollute them. Try and respect them and take care of them. The third relationship is with all other humans, not just your personal family, but every other human who's in need. See if you can be there. You don't know, but even if you're eating a toast right now, thousands of people have been involved in getting that toast on your table. You are in debt to so many people. So be kind and compassionate and helpful where you can to even strangers. The fourth relationship is with your own ancestors and your own family. See if you can be a pillar for them, for the aging, for those people who are in hospitals or in old people homes. Can you be there? Can you send a card? Can you take them out? Can you spend time with them? Can you listen? Can you make eye contact? Can you remember the ancestors who came before you and showed you the way? So this is the fourth relationship. And the fifth relationship you are asked to cultivate and become a giver is with your own guru. If you have a teacher, a sincere teacher, then how can you give? You give back by service. You give back by donation. You give back by gratitude. So there are so many ways that you become a datta, because it seems like a selfish, controlling, demanding state of mind is a place where the mental afflictions known as kleshas in the yogic language and known or vrittis, they become highly disturbed. And mental vrittis or mental waves and the dosha or physical waves known as doshas are connected. So when you are disturbed in the mind, the body becomes disturbed. But when you have become a datta, and I'm not talking about when you're not a datta as in you're not codependent. A datta is not a rescuer. A datta has healthy boundaries, but a datta is living not with their fist like this. They are living like this. I have never kept a account of how many times I have spoken words of advice to any one person. Don't keep an account. Half hour here, 30 minutes there, 2 minutes over there. It's just flowing. And the more it flows, the more I feel I have to flow. because someone else, there is a higher power that is taking care of what I'm giving. The more I give, the more I receive. I have healthy boundaries. I go to bed on time. I don't wake up at 2 a.m. and answer people. I may answer them when I can, but I'm flowing. And then the next word is samaha. Classical Ayurveda, classical teachings, which I have been teaching my students, is cultivate equanimity. Can you cultivate equanimity with your own individual will against the whole world dealing with suffering and betrayal and bankruptcy and disease and death? You cannot. Samaha, with this word comes the understanding of trust in a higher power. This is again teachings of Karma Yoga, in that there is a higher will that is orchestrating things in your life, and when good things are coming towards you, it is because of this higher will. And when some things get taken away from you, such as you don't get a promotion, or there is a death in the family of a beloved pet or a person, they are taken away from you. Again, this is due to a higher will, and this higher will is beneficial, and ultimately it is for the evolution of your own consciousness. So therefore, to cultivate inner peace, inner balance, deep well-being, and to cultivate equanimity through the waves of life that are tossing you here and there, we need a cultivated trust in what is known in Sanskrit as Ishvara. Ishvara comes from that light which is spread everywhere. It is not the name of a person, anthropomorphic God, or a son of God, daughter of God, son-in-law of God. None of that. Ishvara is a formless, omnipotent, omniscient dimension of spirituality. It is the higher power, the supreme truth. And your will or your desires are always known by Ishvara, and things, dukkha, sukha, sorrow and joy will come in your life, and you are told that trust this higher power. Trust this higher power. It is for your best, because you are a soul, and these are other teachings I give on being a soul and how to connect with your supreme relative God. But really it is Ayurveda that wants you to cultivate equanimity, because if you don't, you know it, that it is stress that leads to maximum number of heart attacks. It is inability to deal with the curveballs that life throws our way that causes us vata imbalance or pitta imbalance or kapha depletion. So it is really deep teachings that trust God. I was recently on a vacation, and I was on a 30-day vacation with my family, and I was meeting different members of my family. I was meeting my own family, I met my life partner's family, then we were traveling alone for a while, and it was a beautiful time. It was like a God, Ishvara ordered designer time. And in the middle of this, I receive a text. Your little younger sister, my first cousin, who I've loved and grown up with, died at age 40, suddenly. So it's like so much is coming your way, and then your last sister, because I've already lost one, my elder sister, your younger sister, kaput, the body is over, the soul lives. Now, if I didn't have this cultivation of samaha, then the death that happened 1 week ago, I couldn't be teaching the satsang. I couldn't be concluding the rest of my intentions of a vacation with the other family members who were still in the body. I could not complete my duty towards my old father who was accompanying me. I could not be a source of strength for him who was grieving. So many things happen, and I would be having stomach pains, and I'd be having breathlessness. I was weeping and I was equanimous at the same time. This is what is meant by samaha. If we want to cure our disease, we have to develop a trust in life's ups and downs. We can't be sitting there controlling and calculating every little loss and gain and being afflicted and hurt and broken and humiliated and that something is against us. A deep, deep trust in Ishvara's will. And therefore in Karma Yoga teachings, which I offer in my Bhagavad Gita, again, for the whole world to benefit from, you can go back and listen to it, and I teach you in that how whatever you do, you offer to Ishvara, and then whatever comes back to you is a prasad or a gift from Ishvara. I'm teaching this with 100% faith in Ishvara. Whether you receive my teachings positively, write positive comments, share them to join my mission of sharing this knowledge, support me, or whether you write vile comments, get offended, it's up to you. Because there is a higher will that is orchestrating. And this equanimity then supports me, and my heartbeat doesn't go up. Through death, through birth, through gain, through loss, through humiliation, through awards, through respect, through disrespect, through the love and support of my students, through the insults of certain students. You remain, your doshas, your mental vrittis, they remain in balance, your health comes back to you. So these are the teachings. Let us continue. Satyaparaha, Satyaparaha, Data Samaha Satyaparaha Shamaman. Satyaparaha is one who is not just a truth teller, but one, truth here really means reality. One who is no longer leading a life of postures. And postures one doesn't take on just to cover up something and pretend they are bigger. Sometimes a posture can be where we are already big and we don't accept it. I had a phase of that where I was not in my truth, where I had grown several inches in my own consciousness, but I was continuing out of familiarity in being part of what I was not. And then I come back to Classical Ayurveda, I get my inner permission, and my eggshell bursts, and what comes out is golden light. I am who I am. So therefore, Satyaparaha means live your truth, speak your truth, and never, never, never be not in alignment with that truth. If you are broken, it is better to say I am broken. That is why I did not say that when my sister passed away. In India, we don't say cousins, we say sister. Besides, when you grow up together in a joint family, how does it matter which womb you popped out of? You're having the same experiences, you're eating the same foods, you're one. And her father is actually still alive. My uncle, who is a priest in my lineage home, he's the Vedic teacher, and his only daughter died. And he's calm, and he's practicing this teaching, and I'm practicing these teachings while we are actively grieving. And I could have always pretended to say I didn't cry because I got it all together. But then that would be a posture. When you are Satyaparaha, my heart broke. My heart broke. And it is still broken. But there is equanimity that has descended into me despite all of this, thanks to Ishvara. And thanks to this knowledge. So it is only therefore that you can walk, talk, eat, digest, metabolize, sleep, and heal your body. So be real. Be who you are. It is when we pretend to be less powerful than we are, less valuable than we are, less cherishable than we are, less important than we are. When we say it's okay to hide, it's okay to not speak up, it's okay to not matter, is when we become sicker and sicker. And why even in this birth we can carry these patterns into next birth and be born with cancers and be born with genetic conditions? I was born with a genetic condition. That means I had carried certain darkness from another lifetime into this one. But I'm going to use this lifetime to bring light into that darkness. Every dark corridor my mind traveled, my soul is going to enlighten it with the light of Ayurveda, classical Ayurveda. And then you become Kshamavan. Kshamavan here I've written is forgive often, cultivate kindness, compassion. But here is my deeper understanding of Kshamavan. Kshamavan also means you stop being judgmental. Once you have become a data, a giver, a solution, samaha, equanimous, due to trust in a higher power, then you become satyapara, you become real, you become honest, you become truthful, you become genuine. Then you also see how others are still shrouded in their artificial or their false or they're projected or they're confused or they're psychotic masks and inclinations, and you become accommodating. What this Kshamavan does is that you stop being on pins and needles because others are not behaving appropriately. That's very important. Cannot control the whole world, can you? Would you agree? I have students sitting here in front of me also supporting my live broadcast, and I have students who are watching me from all over the world, and there'll be new people who will be listening to this. Please write your comments. And it sounds so kind of needy to say do share, but share if you think this is important. I'm doing my part, you can do yours, to spread the true light of health from a teacher who is daring to be satyapara, speak my truth, that this is what we need. So when you become Kshamavan, you become more resilient despite other people's ignorance and foolishness and darkness, and you don't walk away bitter. I have certain episodes in my life where I had to say enough, or stop, or this is not acceptable, or please leave, or you're fired, right? We have to do these things. At the same time, my heart can forgive the other person's ignorance, the other person's immaturity, the other person's inability to see through their own blindness, darkness. So be Kshamavan, cultivate kindness, cultivate compassion, be a little soft, otherwise it becomes all tight, and like you and you and you and this and that, and we're so upset and we become permanently traumatized. But when we become Kshamavan, Kshama means is what Jesus had when he said, forgive them, to the people who were throwing stones at him, for they know not what they are doing. And then finally, when you have become so soft, you become a aptopasevi. There is a word called apta. Apta is a Vedic role model, a Vedic guru, a Vedic teacher. They are known as apta. Aptopasevi means go ahead. You surrender your ignorance to a learned and worthy teacher. But what does this really mean? What it really means is that your ego realizes that though it knows how to walk and talk and be smart and earn money and play games and enjoy itself, it really needs a whole new learning to be a healthy human, to be a whole human, to be a blessed human. It needs to relearn new strategies. And so then your ego is quiet enough to recognize that somebody knows more than me. Do you know this is a rare phenomena? This is why most people either can't find a teacher or stay with a teacher, or they fight with the teacher, or they leave the teacher, Oh, they prematurely become a teacher. The reason is the ego. But if you have ill health in the body and mind, you will need not a, they don't say go to a Vedya, a doctor. They don't say go to a, you know, psychiatrist. They are saying find a role model. Somebody, Apta is one. I will talk later about who is an Apta, because actually Ayurveda itself defines who is an Apta. So we'll talk about that. But who is that special person whose inner light is so strong that that being with them turns on your light? That's an Apta. Because then you surrender your ignorance, your ignorant ways of eating, living, being unconscious with your senses, not being a data, being a hoarder, not being equanimous because you're trying to control every wave in your life rather than, you know, floating in the ocean. You're controlling every wave. So be an aptopasevi. So Narohit ahar vihara sevi samikshakari visheshva saktaha data sama satyaparaha kshamavan aptopasevi bhavatte roga. This is the last line, which says such a person overcomes their disease. Dis-ease. They overcome their dis-ease of the body, of the mind. You may not have an immediate change, but now permanently changes start happening, and use your every part of your being, every organ, every cell, they become healthy. Your doshas don't need you don't need to drink dosha teas and eat expensive dosha supplements, and you don't need expensive panchakarmas which are like surgical soft surgeries in Ayurveda, which were meant for the noble and the elite and are still cost an arm and leg. You simply become within your own consciousness so subtle and health evoking that disease that had come to you cannot stay. And this is how, I have countless students, I have mentioned some of them in my book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom, but there were countless students who looked at their own inner being. They changed their food, their lifestyle based on the detailed teachings that I give from Classical Ayurveda, but they also became more samikshakari in the choice of their boyfriends, girlfriends, lovers, in their profession. They changed so many things, and instead of being a hoarder, they became a giver of their time and their skills through seva, at my organization, or helping their grandmother or their father or their mother. Instead of being resentful of why do they call me and demand of my time, they started pleasantly being available, and after duly discerned time, they took it out and gave it to their family or their neighbors or their community or their animals. They started cultivating faith in a higher power, and they started riding the crest and falls of the waves of their life rather than trying to control them. So they had greater equanimity. They became more real. They were not leading the life of a shadow. They were just being who they were, and they became more resilient and adaptive and accommodative of the rest of the world. They became that nobody is evil, they are ignorant, and they continue to study with me, and or study with somebody who they found was an apta, and gradually they have become more and more and more and more healthy in a true sense. So this is the disease cure strategies. Did you enjoy that, all of you? Mm-hmm. If you appreciated learning this deeper disease cure strategy from Charaka Saṃhitā, a classical Ayurveda, and my exposition on it, then write appreciate, thank you. Let me know what you think is helping you. For example, you can say, I know that I want to be a data, or I want to be a truth teller or a giver. So write me your comments. This will help me shape my future teachings on this global satsang platform. Now let us move forward to understand disease prevention strategies from classical Ayurveda, as in from the ancient text Charaka Samhita, we are looking at disease prevention strategies. And this is the next verse, the second verse from Shariristhanam. And in this verse, exceptional, subtle, deeper teachings are embedded. And allow me the time and the patience to go in there and teach you slowly. But the first word is a bit of a mouthful, but it says Matir Vachaha Karma Sukhanubandham. Matir means what are you thinking? What are you feeling? So it deals with your mind, Matir. Vachaha means speech, from Vak. Vak means speech. Your communication. What are you communicating? And karma here means actions. Karma also means law of karma, action, reaction. Here karma simply means actions. Sukhanubandham. Sukha means happiness, bandha means integrated together. So literally what they are saying is, when you align, when you integrate, when there is an alignment between what you are thinking and feeling, what you are communicating, and how you're acting, then this will lead to happy consequences. This will lead to a big release of psychological burdens and pressures, because you will be totally aligned. There will be no, most of the time we are thinking something, we are feeling, thinking and feeling go together. We're thinking, feeling something, we're saying something else. For example, we may be uncomfortable with somebody, but we may be saying things like, that's all right. Yes, I agree. I understand. Whereas internally you must be thinking, I don't understand, but why you dropped this important project. But externally we might be saying, I understand. And from an action perspective, we might be, not following up with sending a memo to our colleague or something like that we should have. But if we make it a pledge that we want to be in alignment, in fact, this whole alignment business, it's a dharma, and it is known as arjavam. And I have taught about it in my Bhagavad Gita teachings. If you come back and look in my YouTube channel for my Bhagavad Gita teachings, I go on and on about Arjavam. And I have a lot of students, including the one you heard from earlier, Aparna. There are many students of mine who've made, Arjavam like a meta goal, a meta dharma in their life to follow. And they always pause to think, wait, are my thoughts and feelings aligned with what I'm about to speak? And if I were to follow it up with action, are they all aligned? That is what is really important. So it takes a contemplative personality. It takes some inner housekeeping as to what are you really thinking, what are you really feeling, what are you speaking. But it's really easy to know whether you're in alignment or not, because when you're not, you feel anxiety, you feel stress. Your vata dosha becomes disturbed, your pitta dosha, you feel angry with yourself or the other, or there's resentment that happens. Your ojas, or your health and your immunity factor and your kapha becomes depleted. So therefore, this is very, very important that you are really a person of character. Arjavam literally means that which is straight like an arrow. So are you straight like an arrow? Ayurveda is asking you to be straight like an arrow to prevent future diseases, because all diseases occur when you're in conflict with your own inner impulses, communication and actions. And nobody's asking you to do that. It is this society which disempowers us and tells us that we're going to reward you or punish you based on, what you speak or how you act. Ayurveda is now teaching you a counterintuitive thing, and I'm teaching you a counterintuitive thing. I'm bothering to teach you a counterintuitive things. Nobody teaches these things. I do in my classroom. I teach this to my Ayurveda students, that you need to be in alignment, because it is this internal non-alignment, because your feelings and your thoughts, they are closest to your soul, and you have to be in alignment with it. You must be. So this is one thing. And of course, remember, you're already becoming a datta, a giver, a satyaparaha. You're becoming real. You're doing all these things. And now you also bring this into focus. So this is, I was reading Freud. I have read different psychoanalysis based papers, and I realized that how much, when there is a conflict between how you feel, what you communicate, and how you act, can lead to ill health and psychosomatic disorders galore. And somatic disorders was not discovered by Freud. They were discovered by Charaka Samhita in ancient Ayurveda. They are known as mano-dehic vyadhis. Mano means mind, dehik means body, vyadhi means disease. They are combined together, mano-dehic vyadhis. One is come in alignment, be straight like an arrow to prevent few diseases of the future. Number 2 is sattvam videham. It means cultivate a mind that obeys you, the soul. Usually, if you might have noticed that you the soul want to get up and exercise, but your mind says, we'll do it tomorrow. Has that happened to you? So your mind pretty much does its own thing, because there is a shadow. There is a shadow master. The mind has taken over from the soul. This is the whole bondage known as bandha in Vedanta. Like there is you, the soul, which wants to exercise, eat right. You ask any soul, if I go deep into even the deepest, darkest criminal soul, they never wanted to commit the crime. Is it right? I have worked with criminals. I have been with them. I know that when I'm with them in a deep, intimate space of soulfulness, they are innocent. Their soul is pure. They never wanted to do anything. Their mind did it. There is a shadow self that develops in the mind, and the mind kind of takes over and does its own thing. But a sattvam videha means it's the kind of mind that listens to the master, which is you. So start cultivating a mind that when you decide something, make a resolve, sankalpa, then make your mind do it. Train your mind. That is why the whole science of yoga, meditation, all this, the whole Vedic impetus was on mastering the mind. We didn't want to master the world. That is why in ancient India, which was the land of the Hindus once upon a time, the Hindu kingdoms, they never colonized any country in the world. Do you know that? They did not wage war also. They did not try to do anything like that. Why? Because the whole focus of the Vedic Hindu culture was master your own self. Jitam jagat kena manohi yena. Who can win the world? You can only win your own mind. This was the deepest teaching. Therefore, is your mind listening to you? So whenever your mind talks back to you, you can say to it, hello, I am the master. We're not going to eat this, and we're not going to eat this. We're going to take a walk, come rain or sunshine, we're going to walk. So when you do that, initially the mind will play games, but as Lord Krishna has reassured Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, that it is very obstinate and it is very chanchal, it is very quick, but with anushasan, with discipline and with effort, it will become like a docile pet. It will follow you wherever you want. So make an effort. First come in alignment so that you're not, playing games with your own mind. Then master it. Thirdly, Vishada cha buddhi, be very clear in your understanding. So study well. Go back to your apta, your teacher, again and again. Be very clear in your understanding. A mind that is very clear, this is what I need to eat, this is what I don't need to eat. This is the people I want to hang out with, these are the people I want to say namaste and move back. I don't want to be mean to them, because I also practice kshama. I understand that they are where they are, but I'm going to be a bit detached. When you do that, it is very clear. The mind is not going round and round and round and round in circles. I have met people whose mind is clear for 30 seconds, then it goes into a circle again, then it goes into a circle again. So what you want to develop is clarity of the mind. This is very helpful. Then once you have a clear mind, you take it to your apta and you start achieving jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge, but it is not ordinary knowledge. It is knowledge of Vedanta. Jnanam is a word that is connected to Vedanta. It is connected to knowledge of your true self, knowledge of the soul, knowledge of the higher self, knowledge of the ultimate reality, knowledge of the inner being, knowledge of the life source, knowledge of what is that part of you that survives death of the body. So achieve jnanam. The more you become, the Vedic Indians are fascinated by the immortal aspect of you, known as the self or Atma. That is the word in Sanskrit. The more you become aware of the Atma, the more you meditate on the Atma, the more your whole being becomes more and more connected to a higher paradigm of immortality. So you start achieving, working towards jnanam. And when you start, and to get jnanam, you can't take one lecture, this, that. You actually find an apta, submit to them, and you study with them, and you contemplate upon those teachings. And these are taught from the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and certain texts that we teach. And you learn from that, and you contemplate upon it. Now, then with this jnanam, you will start getting interested in tapas or tapaha, which is the word here, but it means tapas. Tapas is not the Spanish tapas, eatables. Tapas means like an inner fire. So when you realize you're a soul, because of jnanam, you realize you're a soul, you're pure awareness, but you're caught up in being a body, and you're caught up in figuring out relationships as a body with other bodies. You start taking up different types of tapas, like you might be silent for a few hours a day. You might eat certain sattvic foods only. You might like to attend satsangs. You might like to do yoga, physical yoga. You might like to meditate more. So these are all things that you don't get anything from it. If you go shopping, you get something from it. If you watch dancing, you get something from it. But by being silent, you're giving away something. By not eating, you're giving away something, right? You're giving up. But it's an inner fire that gets strengthened. So it is jnanam that strengthens tapas, and tapas strengthens jnanam. But you get into tapas. So sometimes I have students who detoxify every spring. So I lead students as to what is the right time to detox, what is the right time to eat healthier, more nourishing foods. These are all kinds of tapas. Food-based tapas, silence-based tapas, speech-based tapas of certain chanting that can be done. Chanting the Gayatri mantra is a tapas. I have students who do that. I have students who chant the Gayatri mantra and change their physical symptoms. It is a kind of tapas. I have countless students. If you come to some in-person satsangs, you will meet people who have chanted their way to health. They have become silent to the way to their health. So tapas, what it does is you are no longer behaving like the mob. You're no longer behaving like everybody does. You're doing something different, and you're playing with the magical being inside you. That is tapas. And then tataparta cha yoga, you make continued effort towards yoga. Understand the word yoga, it means union. It can be karma yoga. It can be Raj Yoga, which is part of Upasana Yoga. It can be Jnana Yoga. It can be Bhakti Yoga. I will do some other satsanga explaining all these, but these are pathways of yoga, tools of yoga, but they all lead to the same one common self or Atma, which never falls sick. So the more you are in connection, with the self, the less and less and less you fall sick. Now that doesn't mean you won't die. That doesn't mean you won't decay. That doesn't mean that there might be one disease that might come and get you at the end, because this is part of the physical housekeeping of Ishvara. But day to day, you will not have so much sickness. I can give you my own example, that there was a time when I used to have more colds and coughs and things like that. But the more I had tataparta in yoga, the more I was trying to meditate, contemplate, read, think all the time about the self, the healthy self. I have students sitting here who will confirm that I have been physically showing up in their lives for 12 to 15 years. Have I taken a day off for cold, cough, fever, loose motions, diarrhea, allergy, back pain? None of that. And in fact, even after my accident, when my neck became stiff, I had so much pain, we had to hire, it was a physical thing that happened, a trauma. I had to hire a typist to type for me for a few days, and then I realized this is not working. I can't just be having somebody typing for me, and I can't be in pain. But then even that went away. Pain went away. So the more you come close to that inner healthy being, the big being with the big B, you come into a state of arogyam, which is permanent health, because its nature is health. And that is why I teach my students this mantra, aham arogyam, I am health. Because this big I is not the small I that lives in the mind, that leads you down shady alleys. I'm talking about the big I, the Atma. And so therefore this is the disease prevention strategies, which includes dharma as an arjavam, or alignment of thoughts, feelings, communication, speech, and our actions. It includes the ability, the decision to take up practices that help us master our mind. I think my forthcoming book, The Sovereign Self by Sounds True, which is coming out in September of this year, 2020, will really help you master your mind. It's all about that. And then Vishada Buddhi, which means you'll have very clear understanding to discern between right and wrong, real and unreal, what will make me healthy, what will make me less unhealthy, what is delusional, what is the actuality. This will also be helped by that book, and my teachings will help you be more alert towards that. You will try to find and manifest and stay close to an apta, a teacher who can teach you, who can give you jnanam, the jnanam of the Atma, Atma jnanam. Because of that, your tapas will become very strong. You will take up self-purifying, self-elevating, self-knowing practices, and you will become very, very... yoga will not happen Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on a mat. Yoga will be a constant effort to be in union with your true self, moment to moment, as a wife, as a mother, as a husband, as a waitress, as a teacher, as a professor, as a doctor, as a scientist, as an engineer, as a retired person, as a person on the deathbed. You will be in union with your true self, and you will be healthy physically, mentally, socially, spiritually. You will be healthy. If any disease comes to you due to past karma, there is a whole concept of certain prarabdha karma which we cannot avoid. Even a self-realized person like such as Ramakrishna had cancer, or Ramana Maharshi had cancer. But even in that cancer, they were floating, they were inspirational, they were enjoying, they were having a blast, because they knew who they were, the pure spirit. They were not the body. So there is this is an amazing verse, and I have dared to give such deep teachings because what I'm told is that, or what I'm informed by, or what I see, or rather what I've gleaned, is that everywhere I see on YouTube, we have these shorter and shorter videos, like, half hour, then 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, and 3 minutes. And they all have like fun titles, like, know this to change your life, 3-minute video, eat this to cure all your diseases, 1-minute video. And so I'm very different. I'm teaching you something longer, deeper. Many of you may have faded away, fallen off. I don't know who's watching. I just know this. It's my duty to give this knowledge. It has changed my life. It has changed the life of thousands of people. And maybe if you're lucky and if you are ready, you'll receive this knowledge and you will make efforts to work with classical Ayurveda and not just remain at, a superficial level in a box trying to, combat your doshas. That's not bad. It's a beginning, but you can go deeper, is what I would say. Let us look at this invincible self within us, which is the source of arogyam, or ultimate health. It is not an abstract concept. You are that, but you just get taken over by your shadow self in the mind known as jiva. and you no longer operate from Atma, and the Jiva listens to the senses and it goes here and there and eats what it wants, fornicates where and how it wants, beats itself up, gets judgmental, stays unhappy, and, pretty much lives a life that is a ripe hotbed for disease to manifest. And even if it is manifested karmically, it won't take a light route. It becomes very ingrained and chronic and causes a lot of suffering. So what we want to do is know more about the Atma, and I have taught previous satsangs, global satsangs, on the Atma. I would suggest, if you're new to my global classroom, to go back and re-listen from the very beginning. I would also recommend, if you are focused on the Atma, if you want to know more about it, to listen carefully to my Bhagavad Gita teachings, especially chapter 2, where from verse 11 to verse 22, where I go deep into the Atma. Those would be very deep teachings for you. The thing with Atma is, the more you hear about it, the more you're reminded of your truth. So you want to be surrounding yourself with knowledge about your true self, not just some, shortcuts, but deep teachings of Ayurveda want to tell you about Atma. So the body and the mind, these are the locations of disorders, but this Atma, it is devoid of all abnormalities. You may have cancer, you may have lupus, you may have skin disorders, you may have weight gain, you may have thinness, you may have thyroid, but it's all happening at an outer layer. Inside you, deep in you, you're healthy. So what we want is this health to manifest from inside out. And this is the approach I have taught you, is a path towards it. So it is original consciousness. It is what makes the body and mind conscious or alive. When it disconnects from the body, it is called death. When it enters the body, it is called life. It itself has no birth, no death. It is eternal. It is nityam. And it is like a witness in your mind. Even you can, at times you may have noticed that there is some presence that is witnessing the thoughts in your mind quietly. And that is you, the real you. And you are being asked to step up, step in and take over your own mind. Tell the mind who is boss. Now, who tells us about the Atma? Who is that person? Aparna, can you move that forward? This is not working. One forward. Perfect. So before I tell you who tells you about the Atma, let us look at the three types of chikitsa. They are known as Yukti Vyapashraya, Sattva Vajaya, and Deva Vyapashraya. Physiological, psychological, and spiritual therapeutics are available. Nowadays, in current version of Ayurveda, we mainly focus on the physiological aspect, as you can see, but the psychological and spiritual aspects are neglected. But that is why in all my teachings, I have given equal focus on all three, and I have, if I would say, I have given bigger focus on psychological and spiritual, because it is the spiritual dimension which is the master dimension. This is where, if we can activate this dimension, we can change the psychological. And then the psychological dimension is the via media, or it is the intermediary dimension between the spiritual and the physical. So then when you activate the spiritual dimension, then the psychological dimension works for us. We make the mind work for us, and then the mind orders the body to be healthy. Whereas in the modern interpretation of Ayurveda, I'm amazed, psychological and especially spiritual aspects, some psychological teachings are given, but it's really lip service. They're none of the deep teachings of Charaka Saṃhitā, who was an original psychologist, thousands of years before even Freud and Jung and all of these people. And his deep teachings are ignored, but I like to share them and use them. So he has taught on dharma, he has taught on a cycle of emotions, 8 emotions that we have to watch out for. So all these teachings are ignored completely, but I bring them out in my teachings, and I hope you get a chance to, at some point, read my future books on Ayurveda psychology or study with me currently. But the point is that you want to activate the spiritual dimension. So I have met people who are suicidal. I have worked with people who are deeply, deeply sick. I have worked with people who are on deathbed, but their spirit is eternally healthy. And once we are able to activate that, the mind comes into a place where it works with us, and then changes in food and lifestyle, all of this together as a package just simply does wonders. So now we will now look at where do you get this knowledge of the Shastra. So Shastra, or the text, is known as Shasana Trayate iti Shastram. So Shastra is the word for Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and all these things. So Sha means to command and to enlighten, and Tra means to save. So typically a teacher like myself, an Acharya, will typically first command, drink hot water. That's it. Then we will enlighten why, because it will improve your metabolism. When your Agni goes up, it will automatically digest its own toxins. So the digestion will improve. If the toxin ratio is less and health ratio is more, and Ojas ratio or immunity ratio is more, your health will pull up. So all these things we enlighten later. And ultimately, when we follow the commandments of the Shastra, we become enlightened, and then we are saved, we are protected. Tra means a protective function. So those verses that I chanted to you, Narohit, Ahar, Vihara, Sevi, Samikshakari, Visheshva, Sakta. So each word that I went through, go back and review this video. Each word is a commandment. I have also in this satsang tried to enlighten you. This is a very rare teaching, to enlighten you with each word. This is a valuable teaching. And if you found this valuable, please write valuable, and please share with in your group of people who need it. Because for me, this is a mission. I don't get paid by my organization to do this. I'm not making anything out of this. I want to share this with the world because I am feeling like we are giving the world a very, very reduced version of Ayurveda, or a very expensive version of Ayurveda, or a very effective but often ineffective version of Ayurveda. Like, it's almost like if you want to plant a tree, if you want a seed, if you want a certain tree to grow in your house, a peach tree, you have to plant the whole seed. You can't plant just the skin of the seed and think you will see a tree. So one of the reasons Ayurveda, I think, this is my feeling, could not come up at par and become a global medicine like it once was, because we overtly reduced it, overtly packaged it, overtly simplified it. We didn't allow Ayurveda to stand on its own gorgeous spiritual, psychological, physiological feet. We didn't allow it to be embedded in its own soil of the Vedas. We just wanted to de-spiritualize it. We wanted to make it antiseptic, and we wanted to put it at the same fitting as allopathic medicine, and we wanted to like show off and have, you know, and research and even we didn't even bother to design special research protocols to figure out Ayurvedic things. We just borrowed the research protocol from Western medicine blindly. And then we were even trying to prove how the doshas are on scientific footing, invisible matter on scientific footing, whereas science, modern science, doesn't accept anything that is not understandable by perception, that cannot be seen by perception, whereas doshas can only be understood by inference because of their activity. When things move, we say Vata dosha. When things burn up, we say Pitta dosha. When things stay stuck together, we say Kapha dosha. It's all inference. So this is like we need water for fishes and we need air for birds. We can't connect sciences and just say, yeah, we are going to take Ayurveda to the new world and make it a science. Well, let's go back and see what is Ayurveda. And I've been trudging this lonely path, but for a handful of students who are with me. But my God, it's been a royal path. I don't think it's lonely at all. I have been invited by the Prime Minister of India at least twice to give keynote lectures in India. I've had lunch with him. I have spoken at every important convention about Ayurveda. But then when you give these important speeches, these are only very short speeches. And a lot of people say, great job, that's great, that's wonderful. And now let's talk about the molecular understanding of Triphala. So they go right back into their let's copycat Western medicine approach to Ayurveda. Let us develop a scientific paper on why Amrita, or why Ashwagandha, or why Ashoka, these herbs work on different systems that the rishis have told us. That's why I decided that I want to now talk in public. This is probably the first time I'm making a public lecture on my very unique, old, forgotten approach to Ayurveda. But I have faith, I have blind faith. At this point, I'll say I have blind faith in the Shastra of Ayurveda, in Charaka Samhita. And if Charaka says I need to accommodate the people who are ignorant for my own health, I will accommodate them. If Charaka says that I need to trust a higher will of why my beloved sister was taken away from me at age 40, leaving a 14-year-old behind, I will work with it. I will work with everything in the laboratory of my own life. And I have students who are willing to practice this. And if you want to be one of those people, become an ambassador of Acharya Shunya's Classical Ayurveda, let me know. Write to my office, and let's talk. So let's move forward. Who is an Apta? Who will tell you about Shastras? So I will read from my laptop. I have a shloka here. Buddhi vidya vayashila dhairya smriti samadhibihi vidhopasevino vriddhaha swabhavagya gatavithaha sumukha sarvabhutanam prashanta shamshit vrataha sevya sanmarg bhaktaraha punya shravan darshana. This is a beautiful shloka, again from the Charaka Samhita, from the Shastra, which says literally, seek instruction from the company of those teachers, that Apta, who have become matured with enlightened wisdom, knowledge of scriptures, seasons or age, and who display mature conduct, patience in teaching, excellent memory, and inner poise of balanced state of mind, who is knower of his or her true self, therefore devoid of worries and stress, and is same towards all creatures, peaceful, have taken to inner disciplines. Let us discuss this. One reason Ayurveda did not flourish once it lost its great glory. At one time it was world medicine. It was taught in the great ancient universities of India, ancient India, like Nalanda and Takshashila. Great scholars came from all over the world to study Ayurveda. But today Ayurveda is still in the margins. It is in the periphery. People are making effort. One of the reasons is that the Gurukulam system fell apart, where an able Apta was able to give a lot of teaching with due time, diligence, patience, and time. 12 years was the minimum period of study of genuine Ayurveda. Nowadays we study short. Anyway, 12 years is what it takes to become an Apta, probably a deeper teaching. But we're going very short courses now. So we need deeper teachings. So what you do is, they are saying, you seek instruction of that teacher, or that person is an Apta who has become a vriddha, who is matured with wisdom. So wisdom and knowledge of Shastra, knowledge of scriptures, that is what has matured them. And age comes, seasons or age comes later. So your teacher may be younger to you. However, they may be older to you because they have knowledge of the Shastra. They have that wisdom, that enlightening, liberating, life-changing, health awakening wisdom. They have the knowledge of the scriptures. They have the vidya. They know the scriptures back and forth. So they have, and they have Sheela. They display. How will you know they have the knowledge? Oh, because I memorized 3 chapters. No, because it will show up in their conduct. If people have knowledge, they can't just say, I have knowledge. That knowledge should show up in their behavior. It will show up. They will have patience. They will have excellent memory. They will have inner poise. They will have equanimity. And they will be, because if anybody is close to the Shastra, close to the deeper teachings, then they will be probably having jnanam, atma jnanam, and they will be closer, if not completely realized, they will be quite close to their true self. And the person who is closer and closer to their atma, they will relatively be free of worries. They will relatively be trusting more their inner dimension rather than fretting and lamenting what is not happening in the outer dimension. So therefore, and because they will realize that the same soul, because it's Advaita, one, the same one Atma dwells in all beings, they will have a pleasant demeanor towards all creatures, all beings. They won't be nasty towards animals or people of this caste or lower caste or higher caste, or people who look a certain way or pray a certain way, are better favored to them. They will be same towards all beings, and because they will be peaceful as a result. They will not have so many favorites and biases, and ultimately they would have taken to tapas, they would have taken to inner disciplines. So they are they are living in the world, but they are not trying to conquer the world. They are trying to conquer their own mind. They are trying to conquer their own darkness, their own shadow. So they would be often leading a life of great inner poise. So this is an apta, and then in the same verse it is continued how to approach an apta, and it is said, I'm reading from Charaka Saṃhitā Sutrasthanam. It says, approach a true teacher, an apta, with reverence and a sense of humility and spirit of service. Sevyaha. In India, we serve the teacher as they show the path of truth, sanmarga, the truth of Atma, which is ever healthy, whose mere presence and words are auspicious and health awakening. Punya Shravan Darshanam. So now look at it. Sorry, there is a typo. Instead of Sarshanam, it should be Darshanam. Now, think about it this way. The reason I put this down here is for you to know that these are words I'm reading from the treatise of internal medicine called Charaka Samhita. You would not believe that these verses are sitting right along the diagnosis of fungus, or how to deal with psychosis, how to overcome infertility. This is in the section of Sutrasthanam, which means it's the very beginning teachings, that this is how you get into the teachings. So the quality of the person you are studying with, the teacher, their consciousness, their ability to give you a full view is also very important. Keep that in mind. Now we move forward with the last section, which is for true healing. Let us go beyond the diluted shadow. Tends to get stuck. Maybe you can move it a few more slides. What are some of the sattvic? Sattva means purifying tools. What do you purify? Soul is always pure. You purify the mind so that it can then purify the body. Satsanga, as you're doing now, is vital. Keep receiving the knowledge. This is enlightening knowledge, liberating knowledge, health awakening knowledge. Keep this vital. See if you can receive this knowledge. Go, if you like my teachings, then come back frequently to this channel. Listen to everything I'm saying. Listen again and again. Or you can also find me in other places where I'm sharing my writings and blogs. But satsang is not just verbal. You're listening. You can also read my writings, or some teachers' writings who you feel close to. But keep it going. Satsang means, sat means truth, sangha means closeness with it. Everywhere else we go, whether you go to the movies, whether you go to a carnival, whether you go shopping, whether you go to a friend's wedding, everywhere there are deceptions and illusions. It is only in satsang that you are informed about you, your topic, your life, your health, your choices. So therefore in Vedic satsang is vital, and Charaka Samhita says so. That is the important point. The next point is sattvic vichara. Vichara means contemplations and meditation, chanting, appreciating scriptural teachings. Your mind should not just be filled with, he said this, she said this, then they did that, and then I felt this way, and then watch where your thoughts are going. Watch where they are going. You will realize that the more you become, your thoughts change, the more your body will change. Your aches and pains will go away. Next one is sattvic ahara. You want food that is sattvic. I'm very fortunate that I'm married to a chef, Ayurveda chef, Chef Sanjay, and we have taught over 200 recipes, sattvic recipes in our school, Vedika Global, and through our program we teach a lot of cooking. See if you can learn some sattvic recipes. Each food should make your not only body healthy but your mind calm and peaceful and balanced and contained. All of this will help you manifest good health. And then the next one is a sattvic vihara. We have prayer, growing. Ayurveda talks about, and then I conveyed it about how you can grow herbs and flowers and in your garden, how you can offer it to the divine power first. So there is a way of living that makes your mind and spirit more in yoga, more in union, which helps your body. So try and do that. And finally, Sadhavritta is the teachings in Ayurveda on dharma. This is my photo here from India, where I am with cows and children from the Gurukul. And it's so beautiful that if we can, dharma literally means dharanat, iti dharma, that which holds. So dharma are those values. What are those values? What are those behaviors? What are those actions that we can embody, that we start behaving like soul, like relating like soul, interacting like soul, not just as bodies that are vying with each other for attention and competitive. We really become Atma. That is Dharma, and these teachings are contained in Ayurveda. And in my teachings, I spend so much time going over each teachings, each type of Dharma in details. Why are these teachings lost? Why are we not talking about them? When people come in with, kidney failure or heart disease or chronic skin disorders, why are we not talking about God Dharma? Why are we not asking about that? So finally, I think the deepest essence, the core of Ayurveda was Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, Sarve santu niramayaha, Sarve bhadrani paschantu ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all experience prosperity and well-being in everything. May all be free from suffering. These were the deepest teachings. These are the chants of the rishis. They did not say, may Indians be happy. May brown people be happy. May Hindus be happy. They always work towards all, sarvam, all. So with this, I end my global satsang, and we will be right back with questions and answers. If you have not written your question, you can write that. If you would like to share a comment, because this is the first time I have shared about classical Ayurveda and my teachings from my Gurukul tradition, then you can share that also, as in it excited you or it overwhelmed you. It's fine. Come out with the truth. Remember, be a truth speaker. And also one more thing, when you're a truth speaker, your truth should not come out like stones being pelted on humanity. Speak your truth like flowers are blossoming from the womb of earth. She knows so much more than us, but she doesn't throw it on us. She doesn't just vomit on us. Nature always has the last word, but it is soft. Speak your truth softly and walk away free and healthy. We'll be right back. We are back, and I am happy to take your questions. Aparna, my student, will be assisting me.
So we have 3 questions so far that have been asked, and I wanted to encourage everyone to realize there's a slight delay between when this is happening in real life and when you're receiving it. So there's about a 20-second delay, but we have received 3 questions so far. If we have time and other ones come in, then I will make sure that Shinji gets them. For question number 1, if we are souls in a material world, what is the purpose of this exercise of engaging in this wheel of karma? Why does the soul have to go through this? Are we a special bunch of souls in a special place, or is it more like we're bad or ignorant souls in a re-education kind of place?
Who's asking this?
Drak from the Netherlands.
Hello, Drak. It's a good question. It's a question for Vedanta. But in short, I can answer you this much, that the Vedas were never pompous enough to say they knew everything. In fact, they said, based on all evidences and observations, we can conclude that the earth, known as the Mrityuloka, there are 14 spheres of existence. It's not the only universe where there is life. This is not the only world. There are 14 lokas or dimensions of existence where beings with different bodies that may be visible or invisible to us are alive. Souls are incarnating through these lokas. Our loka is the 7th in the 14th. It is known as Mrityuloka, the loka of death, where everything that is born will die. And we are apparently going through a school. And that is one view. That's one view. Another view is that there is no world. Just like in the dream, we dream of so many things, and when we wake up, there is nothing there. In the same way, so there is the dream world and then the awakened world, waking world. There is one more waking up to do, known as Paramarthika Satta. One more waking up to do where nothing is existing. This is all a dream of the soul, of the one soul, where it became many. So you're encountering your own soul in a waking dream. But when you wake up from that, there is nothing. Why this dreaming is going on, and then there are detailed teachings on it. Either which way, there are a couple of theories. We're definitely not being punished, because then for that we need one being who punishes. Rather, there is the law of karma, where we are rewarding and punishing our own selves. The soul is very powerful because Atma is omnipotent, omniscient. When we forget our Atma, we have the world. The more we remember, the world becomes optional. I am not sure if I'm giving you a clear answer, because this takes detailed study. I have taught a text called Tattva Bodha, which are the systematic teachings of Vedanta. I have these teachings, these answers are coming up in Bhagavad Gita also. I have taught 2 chapters till now. It took me almost 2 years to do it, because just like I taught this verse in deep detail, I teach each verse in deep detail. So you might want to start following that, and then there will come a time where this whole discussion of creation and destruction of universes, souls, all of this will take place. There are more theories also, but I will then tell you what Lord Krishna says. In my view, the reason Ayurveda is known as the Pancham Veda or the fifth Veda is because we can begin here. It is enough for us to know that there is something more to us beyond our body, which is subtle, invisible, but real. And it survives the body. It was there before the body. It entered that little embryonic body. It stays in it, and then at some point it departs. It disconnects. And that is our truth. Soul has different connotations in the Judeo-Christian traditions. In the Vedic tradition, the soul is beyond sin, beyond darkness, beyond sorrow. It is ever blissful, it is ever aware, and it is all-knowing. To know that, and it is eternally healthy. To know that, and to know that while living, we can connect more and more with it, with a pure mind that is equanimous, is helpful from a health perspective. I hope this helps you, my child.
The second question, how do we choose to speak our truth or when to stay silent? How do we know when this is beneficial, not just for us, but for others, when we're not coming from the ego and the mind?
So there is the word called tapas, which means purificatory practice, and Charaka Samhita, as well as Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita came first, and then Charaka Samhita talks about it. They talk about a communication protocol, a tapas, which I'm bringing up in my book, Sovereign Self, coming up. But in short, there is a 4-point protocol that you must keep in mind when talking. First and foremost, it should be non-violent. So whether you're speaking your truth or not, is it non-violent or not is important. So it should be non-violently uttered. Okay. Number 2, it should be truthful, as in it should not be a deliberate lie. Number 3, it should be pleasantly uttered, as in the intonation of your voice, etc. And fourthly, it should be beneficial, not to you, to your listener. Oftentimes we think it will be very beneficial, and we think it, and then we utter some monologue, and it really like starts, a problem. You really have to think whether what you're about to say is going to be beneficial to the other or not. For example, I don't often mix with people, but besides people who are wanting to learn from me or who are my spiritual colleagues and other spiritual teachers. So I don't often mix with, worldly folks. Worldly folks as in people who are not wanting to go beyond, routine world. But sometimes when I meet them, and even if somebody says, oh, she's a spiritual teacher, tell us something. Recently when I was traveling, people said, tell us something. Give us a lecture. I recently went to a university in Kerala where my father was being felicitated. And people heard I'm coming and they were like, sir, we have garlanded you and heard from you. May your daughter come upon the stage and give us a lecture. No thanks. Why? No, please, I'm here supporting my father. Why? Because none of them are ready to deal with me if I open my mouth. Their comfortable lives, which is filled with Bollywood and shopping as students and some simple goals of getting a job in the bank, will get disturbed if people like me come and talk to them. You have to be ready to receive knowledge. So out of their benefit, I keep silent. And when I have, the more ready my student is, the more I am able to show them the deeper and deeper teachings. That's why It has taken me, what, 53? I don't know if I'm 52 or 53, I don't remember. But it has taken me 50 plus years to speak about what I know about Ayurveda in public. I didn't just like pick a few things here and there and start giving a lecture. But now I feel that with my students supporting me, with my graduates who have understood what I've said, with people making inroads into this deeper classical Ayurveda with my work, I can say, yes, it's time more people knew about it. So you have to think about the benefit of the world, of the listener, not just you. Sometimes you have to keep your silence. Sometimes a student writes to me something and I know that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But if they've already written to me, Shunya ji, I'm thinking of doing this. Please send me your blessings. I keep quiet. So think 100 times before advising, informing, educating. I would say that. Also, is the audience out there going to be respectful towards you? For a long time I was not on YouTube because I knew I was speaking to strangers. So in our world, in our Vedic protocol, a teacher only opens their mouth to respectful, reverential, decent people, students, not to trollers, not to people who don't have attention and they listen to 1 minute of your teaching and write some comment. So for a long time I was hidden. And my students used to say, oh, what a privilege, we know about you. How did we discover you? I would say, good karma. Anytime you discover a good teacher, not just me, it's good karma. Ishvara, the great supreme power, wants you to know something. But it was after deliberation that I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to be frank and honest and real. And there's a part of me that I'm adventuring to see how this goes. I may not forever teach on YouTube. Let's see. Communication is a very powerful bullet. Take it out carefully. I hope this helps you.
We have 2 more questions. One, can you elaborate more on the psychological techniques and treatments used in Ayurveda?
It is so huge that I cannot elaborate on it. But I can say that we have 2 types of treatments in Ayurveda psychology. One is to overcome diseases like psychosis or anxiety neurosis or manic depressive episodes or even personality disorders. So there's actually deep teaching. And even treatment for advanced conditions like schizophrenia. So there is medicine and food as well as psychotherapy. And spiritual therapy for people who have a lot of mental disorders. They need spiritual therapy even more than psychological because their mind is not available for counseling. So spiritual therapy. So there's all this Devi Vipashra Chikitsa that goes on. And then there is this whole amazing teachings on positive psychology by Charaka Saṃhitā, which includes dharma, so that you behave in such a way that even people who were reacting towards you or being judgmental towards you, you learn to have healthy boundaries, you learn to be powerful, you learn to do the right thing, and you learn to be tolerant. So there's all these teachings on dharma, which is part of psychology. Then there is teachings on how you can watch out for negative cluster of emotions and feelings that take you down a slippery slope and create an illusion that you're powerful and you're making the right decisions, but you may be hurting your body and your mind and your life and your relationship. So there's all this teachings around caution and how to watch and supervise your own mind and how to master it. Then there are teachings around how to eat food that is correct for the mind, and what are those foods that will help the mind be calm, because it is annam hi saumya manaha, is annam or food that when it is digested more and more and more, and at subtle level it becomes the mind. That is what the Sanskrit saying is saying. So we talk about that. So there is a lot of teachings, and in fact in my Ayurveda teachings, in my programs, one part of it is doshas, one part of it is lifestyle, one part of it is food, and one part of it is the mind. It has 4 pillars, the house of Ayurveda that I built, and one whole part of it is psychology that I teach consistently. And I have found, Ayurveda even talks about the law of karmas and how to deal with birth and death and all these things and losses. So it's detailed, and you can find echoes of the Vedas and the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita in the Charaka Samhita. I hope, I have a desire to write 22 books before I die. And I have my second one coming out. The third is ready for publishers also. So I don't think I can write 22, but I'll definitely give priority to Ayurveda psychology. The Ayurveda psychology books I found that are in currency right now often piggyback on yoga psychology. They also do some strange association with Tantra, which has no association with Ayurveda, logically speaking. But nobody talks about Charaka Samhita's teachings. In fact, embedded within Charaka Samhita is its own Yoga Sutras. So there is Charaka Yoga Sutras, not just Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, but nobody talks about it. So I want to talk about that also, the Yoga Sutras, which are all part of the mind. So there's so much, such an ocean. But I can tell you that when a teacher teaches, they don't just teach intellectually. I teach from a perspective of what is useful for our physical health. Yeah. Hope that helps you.
Well, final question. Does Ayurveda require eating Indian foods for those of us in the US?
Oh, please heavens, no. Even I don't eat Indian food. I eat Ayurvedic food. So Ayurvedic food is a set of principles. And you can adapt them to Japanese cuisine or Hawaiian cuisine or any cuisine. Go for it. Yes, because I am an Indian and because I have some limitations around what I can teach, because I can't exactly teach you how to make pasta or sushi from an Ayurvedic perspective, but once you understand it, you can. I do teach recipes which are a bit more Indian in their origin, but I always talk about how it's not a limitation at all. And then I've had different graduates even bake cakes with Ayurvedic, we've had cakes with Ayurvedic origin. We had somebody make pastries with lotus seeds, because lotus seeds are full of aphrodisiac and ojas qualities. So when I did a class on lotus and lotus's benefits, and I grew a lotus in my backyard in California, my student made a cake with lotus seeds. We've had Italian food, Chinese food, because we do, students do their meets and we do our own, parties, Ayurveda parties. Then all these Ayurveda cuisine comes out, which is 100% Ayurvedically sound. The way I teach, or the way any proper teaching happens with Ayurveda in any source, any places where you're not limited to eating khichdi. I'm very bored with khichdi. I mean, I love khichdi because I eat it a lot, but I don't believe that you have to just eat khichdi the rest of your life, because that's really like so sad. You have to eat everything. And you also don't have to eat dosha-based food all the time. I'm going to do a class. I'm going to do a satsang on that, how to eat. But this is a misnomer that based on your prakriti, whatever is your quiz, you eat according to that. You should not. You should only eat a dosha balancing diet for a short time until that dosha is imbalanced. The rest of the time you should eat seasonal diet. So anyway, those details will come in future. But for now, understand that in no way is Ayurveda going to restrict you to eat Indian food. I hope if you're from another culture and say you were to study from me, you become a teacher of Ayurvedic food in that cuisine. Thank you so much. I look forward to your comments and your active engagement. If you're on Facebook, you can join me. You can look for Vedic Contemplations by Acharya Shunya. This is my newly forming private Facebook group. I'm continuing a heart-to-heart conversation on rethinking Ayurveda here from now until March. So this will be a very active space where I will be not only posting this video when it's ready to be reposted, but so many more blogs and writings and short videos to continue the conversation. So if you are an lover of Ayurveda, Yoga, Vedanta, if you like my style of teaching, if you believe there is room and for classical teachings to resurface, that it's timely that we human beings descend to a deeper responsibility about how our own mind and its controlling projections and its craziness is the cause of our physical health, and why we need to go back to the rishis and to the Shastra tradition, then come join me in that Facebook group, participate, grow, and walk away much more healthy and happy. Thank you.